Back in 2023 or 2022, there was this sudden wave of indie Roblox devs blowing up games that didn't look or feel like the usual simulator clicker farm cash grabs. And right at the front of that wave was Rico Miller, also known under his studio tag RCM Games. If you were active on Roblox Twitter or just keeping up with dev forums, you'd remember the hype around his project Dead Rails. The pitch was simple but different, a stylized Wild West PvP train shooter where players fought it out on moving carriages. And the execution? Honestly clean. It was refreshing at a time when Roblox was drowning in clones of Pet Sim, Brookhaven updates, and generic tycoons. Dead Rails felt like something that belonged on Steam, but it was sitting right there on Roblox for free. That's why people latched onto it. It wasn't just another Roblox game, it was a statement, like, yo, the platform can actually produce creative, polished, original titles. The internet around Rico himself added to the scene. He was this young, talented dev that folks were calling the next big thing. On social media, every little update he dropped got traction. Sneak peeks of animations, trailers of gameplay, devlogs, all of it looked professional. People weren't just hyped for Dead Rails, they were hyped for him. You could feel that same energy people had when Stylus released Phantom Forces or when Jailbreak first dropped. It was that sense of watching a generational Roblox game being born. Players weren't just playing a cowboy shooter, they were buying into the idea that this was going to be the future of the platform. And for a moment, it really looked like that could happen. But here's the thing with Roblox and hype cycles, they burn fast. Dead Rails came out strong. It had thousands of players and clips of people goofing around on trains spread across TikTok and YouTube. Even devs outside the Roblox bubble were looking at it like, okay, this is different. But Roblox audiences aren't known for their patience. If a game doesn't update constantly or evolve into something bigger, it gets abandoned just as quick as it blew up. And sadly, that's exactly what started happening to Dead Rails. The beginning was fun, sure, but there wasn't enough long-term content to keep casuals grinding or pros sweaty. Once the shine wore off, the player count started dipping. And this is where Rico's story starts to mirror so many other Roblox dev one-hit wonders. Instead of doubling down with updates, communication dried up. Devlogs slowed, hype tweets stopped landing, and rumors started spreading that Rico had lost interest. Some people said he got burnt out, others thought maybe the pressure of being the next big Roblox dev crushed the fun out of it. And honestly, you can't blame him. Imagine being a teenager or young adult, suddenly everyone calling you a genius, expecting you to carry the future of the platform. That's a lot to put on one person. But the silence is what killed it. Roblox fans are loyal if you talk to them, even if your game is buggy or half finished. The moment you disappear though, the community assumes the worst, and that's what happened here. The excitement around Rico turned into disappointment. People started clowning on the idea of Dead Rails being the savior of original Roblox games. To them, it was just another entry in the graveyard of projects that had insane potential but got left behind. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Unlike some devs who vanished completely, Rico hasn't totally disappeared. He's still somewhat around, teasing projects here and there. But the problem is, the longer you wait, the harder it gets to recapture that lightning in a bottle. People remember the hype peak, and if your next thing doesn't match it or surpass it, the internet's gonna roast you. That's the curse of being a promising Roblox dev. The fans want the next blockbuster, but the devs are just human. They don't always have the resources, the time, or even the motivation to carry a whole empire on their back. As hype as the game was in its early days, it didn't take long for reality to catch up. And honestly, it's kind of tragic. You had this insane momentum, a community that was buzzing, YouTubers giving it free promotion, kids logging in every day just to see if they could land a new insane clip on the train. But slowly, piece by piece, it started to fall apart. And not even in one big dramatic explosion, more like a slow leak that everyone saw coming, but nobody wanted to admit. One of the biggest problems was the lack of updates. Dead Rails had a sick core idea, but once you played for a couple hours, you realized there wasn't that much else to do. It had the spectacle, it had the meme factor, but there wasn't a lot of long-term depth. Other Roblox hits like Phantom Forces or Arsenal kept people hooked because they were constantly throwing new maps, weapons, and mechanics into the mix. Dead Rails? It kinda just stayed the same, and in a platform like Roblox where the player base chews through content like crazy, that's a death sentence if you can't keep up. Players would log in, mess around on the train, have fun for a bit, but then slowly drift away because there was nothing new to grind for. Then you add on the fact that the game got absolutely hammered by exploits. Roblox is notorious for having hackers ruin experiences, and Dead Rails was basically a magnet for them. You'd hop in and suddenly someone would be flying around breaking the map, or deleting the train, or just making the whole lobby unplayable.
Look at what this guy going to do. Why is bro hacking? Why is bro threatening us? Not my friend trying to ride on his back. Since no one bothered leaving, he decided to leave.
because RCM Games wasn't updating or moderating heavily, it just kept happening. That kills community trust fast. People stop bothering because they know 9 times out of 10, the game won't even work properly. It's like trying to hype up a roller coaster, but every time you get in line, someone's blowing up the tracks. Eventually, you just don't come back. And that's where the community started to turn on Rico Miller himself. At first, people loved the guy. He was seen as this cool, independent dev who came out of nowhere and gave them a masterpiece. But as months went by without updates, without communication, without anything, people felt abandoned. Some fans would defend him, saying he was busy or working behind the scenes. Others were harsher, calling him lazy, cash grabby, or just straight up done with Roblox. It created this split where Dead Rails felt less like a thriving game and more like a relic, something people reminisced about instead of actually played. Meanwhile, other Roblox devs were learning from Dead Rails' popularity and pumping out their own train or chaos-based games. Suddenly, the thing that made Dead Rails unique wasn't so unique anymore. You could hop on other experiences that gave you the same kind of fun, but with more polish and support. The community started making jokes, clones, even memes about how Dead Rails really is dead. And the worst part? Rico didn't do much to stop it. He could have revived it, added new trains, new mechanics, maybe even a competitive angle, but the silence once again said it all. And that's what makes the downfall of Dead Rails so frustrating. It wasn't like the game was bad, the bones of it were solid, people genuinely loved it, but it was one of those cases where the potential was way bigger than what actually happened. You can't help but think, what if Rico had treated it like a live service game? What if he had built a dev team, kept the updates rolling, fixed exploits, and listened to feedback? We could be talking about Dead Rails today as one of the biggest Roblox shooters of all time, not just a flash-in-the-pan meme game that burned out in record time. When you zoom out, Dead Rails' story actually mirrors a lot of Roblox games that blow up too fast. Look at titles like Egg Hunt spin-offs, Old Tycoons, or even something like Meep City. They all had their golden moments but collapsed under their own weight because of either poor dev support or just being milked dry without innovation. Dead Rails is just one more name on that list, but it hurts more because the idea was so fresh. Nobody else was doing chaotic FPS on a train. That was its thing, and it could have been legendary. In a weird way, the legacy of Dead Rails lives more in the idea than the actual game. People remember it for those first moments of chaos, the highlight clips, the memes, the shock of, yo, this game is insane.
Muchacho, vea tan bonita, vea, se llama Chepe, lo Chepe, venga mi Chepe. Suave, 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 suave.
The reality is, it's barely playable today. Rico Miller moved on, the community scattered, and the game that once had insane momentum is basically a ghost town. That's why it feels like wasted potential. Not because it didn't get its shot, but because it did, and then it just stopped. And maybe that's the lesson here. On Roblox, hype can only carry you so far. You need constant updates, community management, and dedication to keep the flame alive. Rico struck gold with Dead Rails, but instead of mining it, he just let it sit there until it rusted. And now, all we're left with is a bittersweet memory of what could have been one of the all-time greats.